Welcome to Barca News. It is June 15th, 2026. And today we're going to talk about Junior or Eli Junior Kroupi and where he stands on Barcelona's list of priorities. Also, Deco meeting with Jan Virgilli's agent at the Ciudad Esportiva. I'm going to tell you why. And finally, we got to talk about Spain. What the hell happened? We have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Boo. And today we're going to start talking about, like every day, about the World Cup. Usually we've talked about very generally about what's going on in the World Cup. Today we're going to get a little bit more specific. Why? Because today Spain debuted in the World Cup. And of course, the whole world's eyes were on Spain to see how they were doing. Of course, they are one of the favorites to win the World Cup. And today they were facing off against Cape Verde, their first time making it to the World Cup. And well, everybody expected a total demolishing or a total thrashing of Cape Verde. But instead, it ended 0-0, a draw between Spain and Cape Verde. And of course, everybody's sitting there like, what the hell happened? Well, I'm here to break it down, or at least what I thought went wrong. But before we get into the specifics on why I thought Spain completely failed in their debut today, I do have to talk about Cape Verde real quick because I have to apologize. I have to apologize to Cape Verde as a nation, as a team, to their citizens, to their fans, because I completely underestimated them. I broke the number one rule of every sport, not just football, which is to never, ever, ever underestimate your opponent. Because today Cape Verde, well, surprised us all. Now, what I'm talking about is, I think it was last week, I was talking about how Luis de la Fuente had mentioned that he could call up Lamine Yamal against Cape Verde for some minutes. And I said, why is Luis de la Fuente doing this? Lamine Yamal is not fully recovered. He's risking the health of Lamine Yamal. And do you really need Lamine Yamal against Cape Verde? Right? Now, don't get me wrong. I still stand by my words that there was no need to call up Lamine Yamal today. I mean, what's the point of risking his health? I mean, okay, he shows up against Cape Verde, and then what? You miss him for the whole World Cup? That doesn't make sense to me. It's better that he misses this match against Cape Verde so he can be available for the rest of the tournament. But nonetheless, I'm not here to talk about Lamine Yamal. I'm here to talk about Cape Verde, because when I said that, I wasn't just referencing the fact that Lamine Yamal needs to fully recover before he plays, but I was also undermining Cape Verde, and for that, I do apologize, because my God, what an effort. What an effort by the African nation, a nation of 500,000 people holding up against Spain, up against one of the best Spains in recent history with some of the best players in the world. What an effort by the African nation. And some people might say, well, Mo, they just parked the bus. They didn't create any chances. They didn't, attack. It was boring. Yes, sure. Okay. Yes, they parked the bus. But guess what? Parking the bus is not just it. You park the bus and that's it. No, parking the bus still takes a lot of effort, a lot of planning, a lot of intensity, a lot of strategizing, a lot of teamwork, a lot of focus. Because when you're parking the bus, all 11 players have to be fully focused. If just one guy makes a mistake, the whole wall comes down crumbling. So just saying, oh, park the bus like it's a solution to everything. No, you still have to put in the work. I mean, look at Curacao. They parked the bus and they got demolished 7-1 against Germany, right? So just saying, oh, they parked the bus, like dismissing, like parking the bus is just anybody can do that. That's not at all, because what Cape Verde did today was absolutely amazing. So my hats off to Cape Verde. What an effort. Bravo. And again, I completely apologize to them for underestimating them. Now, having talked about Cape Verde, let's talk about Spain, because we got to talk about what the hell happened there. I mean, we saw a team with no intensity, no desire, very, very horizontal, with a million passes made that were going absolutely nowhere. Kind of like how Barcelona looked sometimes at the beginning of last season. And well, you got to wonder what is going on, right? If this is a team that's aiming to win the World Cup, they have to come out with more intensity. They have to come out ready to kill. I mean, yes, it is Cape Verde, But that's actually even more so a reason why you need to come out and kill, because you have to send the message to the other big teams, hey, we're not here to play around. We're here to win the trophy. Look at Germany. They played against Curacao. They could have came out chilling, half speed, half intensity. No, no, no. That's not what Germany did. Germany came out to kill. They went full pedal to the metal, full throttle, full intensity, and they demolished Curacao 7-1. That's a team that's sending a message to the rest that, hey, we're not here to play. I don't care if you're Curacao. I don't care if you're Brazil. We're coming here with full intention to win. And that's what Spain should have done today, but they didn't. They came out thinking, oh, it's just Cape Verde. Who the hell cares? I'm just going to jog. I don't have to play that hard. I don't have to play with that much intensity. They're going to fall eventually. Well, guess what? This is the World Cup, ladies and gentlemen, and it doesn't matter if it's Curacao or Brazil or Cape Verde. You have to put in 100% effort. Now, having said that, that was part of the problem. I think the other part was tactical, and there are three reasons why I'm saying this. First reason, what was Luis de la Fuente thinking, placing Pedri as an attacking mid that's not even like fully in the center, but more to the left? You're talking about Pedri. You're talking about the maestro in any orchestra, that guy who dictates the tempo, that guy who distributes the ball, that guy who organizes the attack. He pretty much is the brain of the operation. And you put him as an attacking mid, but more like towards the left, towards the wing. What is that about? Pedri needs to play at the base of the attack, at the base of the midfield. That's where Pedri belongs. That's where Pedri shines. And had he put him there from the beginning, we could have seen a different result. And if you don't believe me, just look at the last 10, 15 minutes of the match. Luis de la Fuente put Pedri where he was supposed to put him, and voila, Spain started working a lot better. Second reason, I gotta say, Fabian Ruiz and Pedri don't mix too well together. Don't get me wrong. Fabian Ruiz, excellent player. Pedri, excellent player. You put them together, and for some reason, it just doesn't work. They seem to continuously step on each other's feet, continuously get in each other's way, step on each other's territory. I don't know. I think Pedri and Dani Olmo would have worked a lot better than Pedri and Fabian Ruiz. Third reason, Gabi, love him to death. But what was up with Gabi being placed as a winger on the left wing today against Cape Verde? You knew Cape Verde was going to park the bus. You knew they were going to defend with a low block. You knew you needed players that can make the field wider, that can unlock defenses, that can dribble past players. And you put Gabi on the left wing, that's just not the player you need for that kind of match. So I think Spain, tactically speaking, Luis de la Fuente completely failed. As I've always said, I think he's a terrible coach, but that's just my opinion. And then on the other hand, the players, I think they were overconfident coming out against Cape Verde. And this is why we saw what we saw today. But of course, nonetheless, my hat's off still to Cape Verde because, well, we cannot overlook the tremendous effort that they did today. But anyways, I don't want to talk about the World Cup anymore. Let me know what your thoughts are about Spain drawing against Cape Verde down below in the comment section. And now let's move on to the next bit of news, because we do have to talk about Hamza Abdul Kharim, because sports, the media outlet Sport, have revealed how Barcelona eventually arrived at the decision of activating the option to buy in Hamza Abdul Karim's contract after only 4 months of being at the club. Now, as you know by now, Barcelona signed Hamza Abdul Karim over the winter transfer market on a loan with an option to buy worth 1.5 million euros. The players, at the beginning, he was, of course, still adapting, and then he suffered an injury. He was out for a long time. Then he finally came back, and he only ended up playing 11 matches, and yet those 11 matches were enough for Barcelona to decide to activate his option to buy. Of course, during those 11 matches, he scored 8 goals, a pretty remarkable number. But not just that, but Barcelona were incredibly impressed with Hamza Abdul Kharim, who, of course, he's a two-footed forward with good movement, good finishing instinct, and ability to attack the space. We're also very, very impressed with his ability to handle pressure. I mean, he had already played at Al Ahli in the first team. He's been called up to the World Cup now. He captained the Egypt in the under 17 World Cup, scoring 2 goals and providing 1 assist. And even though Barcelona coaches they already knew that Hamza Abdul Kharim was a promising player, they were even more surprised once they saw him up and close about what he was able to offer. And this is how Barcelona reached the easy decision to activate the 1.5 million euros for the Egyptian, who today debuted with Egypt against Belgium in their 1-1 draw in the World Cup. And I gotta say, I'm very, very excited to see Hamza Abdel Karim. Of course, he will be part of the preseason under Hansi Flick. I'm excited to see him in the World Cup, and I'm excited to see him what he does in the preseason. Now, on to that next bit of news, because we have to talk about another forward, another young forward, someone you guys ask about a lot, who's no other than Eli Junior Kroupi, the 19-year-old forward currently playing at Bournemouth. He had an incredible season with Bournemouth, and of course, he is on Barcelona's list as replacement options for Julian Alvarez. Now, of course, Julian Alvarez remains Barcelona's #1 target, but of course, Barcelona also studying other options in case the Julian Alvarez deal doesn't go through. We've talked about options like Dusan Vlahovic, for example, Osimhen, maybe Harry Kane if he doesn't end up renewing with Bayern Munich. And well, on that list is also Kroupi, someone that Deco is incredibly impressed with, given how Kroupi is quick, agile. He's technically gifted. How he combines his strong dribbling ability with his intelligent movement, with his link-up play. Pretty complete forward. Deco incredibly impressed with him. And Barcelona have him on the list of possible signings. However, we do know that Bournemouth won around 100 million euros for him. So, of course, Barcelona are hesitant to pay that kind of money for a teenage attacker who could end up being a gamble, right? At 19 years old, you still don't know, is this season a fluke? Is he going to continue on this path? Is he going to continue growing? Is he going to plateau? Is he going to get worse? You don't really know at that age. So Barcelona very, very impressed with Kroupi. Deco's a big fan. They've been watching it for quite some time. But for now, Barcelona very hesitant about paying that kind of money for a 19-year-old. So if anything, Barcelona are kind of saving this option for the future. They think in 2-3 years, there will be a better time to spend that kind of money on Kroupi, of course, assuming that he continues getting better and improving and growing and developing, etc., etc. Now, on to that next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of Deco, today the Barcelona sporting director met with the agents of Jan Virgilli at the Ciudad Esportiva. And of course, Barcelona offloaded Jan Virgilli last summer to Mallorca for 3.5 million euros, and they retained 40% of his rights, and they also have an option to buy back the player worth 30 million euros. And well, now Mallorca have been relegated, and as such, that buyback clause has been reduced from 30 million euros down to 12 million euros. And as such, Deco met with Jan Virgilli's agents to see the possibility of bringing the player back to Barcelona. Now, you might say, Mo, what the hell are we doing here? We have Rafinha. We just signed Anthony Gordon. Why would we need a third left winger? And well, this is why. This would be more of a market opportunity to make money because, like I said, the buyback clause of Jan Virgilli was originally 30 million. With the relegation of Mallorca, it's dropped to 12 million. But of course, we know that Barcelona own 40% of the rights of the player. So out of the 12 million, they would only have to pay 7 million. So Barcelona could sign Jan Virgilli for 7 million euros. His market value is 15 million euros. And there are plenty of clubs interested in him. So Barcelona could buy back Virgilli for 7 million and sell him for 15 million, making a profit of 8 million euros. Now, Barcelona could also sign him for 7 million, send him a loan, and who knows, his value could go up to 20, maybe 30 million euros, and then sell him for even a bigger profit. But of course, that does carry some risk, because just like his value could go up on loan, it could also go down. So that's more of a, it could go either way. But Deco now contemplating the idea of bringing Virgili back for 7 and then selling him for profit, which of course would go would help Barcelona a lot in this summer transfer market given their financial situation. Now, speaking of helping Barcelona this summer transfer market, we do have to talk about Ansu Fati because, ladies and gentlemen, the Barcelona Academy graduate has officially reached an agreement with Monaco. And this, of course, is a great news because, as you know, Monaco informed Barcelona about a month and a half ago that they want to activate the option to buy in Ansu Fati's contract worth 11 million euros. The only thing standing in the way of this deal was for Monaco to reach an agreement with Ansu Fati. And of course, for that to happen, Ansu Fati needed to reduce his salary because Monaco could not afford it. And while it seems like that agreement has been reached between the player and Monaco, he has agreed to a 4-year contract with Monaco, reducing his salary. So now all parties are on board. So this deal is set to be finalized during this week. So Barcelona are going to be able to remove the huge Ansu Fati salary off their wage bill, which will clear space to register other players. B, they're going to make 11 million euros net because, of course, Ansu Fati is an academy player. So that all is profit for the club. And finally, Barcelona will retain a buyback clause and also a percentage of any future sales. So if Ansu Fati ends up exploding at Monaco and regain his confidence and live up to his potential, Barcelona could either buy him back so he can come to Barca and impress, or if Monaco ends up selling him to another club, Barcelona could make a percentage of that chunk. So a pretty good operation for Barcelona. Of course, it is always sad to see Ansu Fati leave because he was kind of like that kid that gave us all hopes once Messi had left. He inherited the number 10 from Messi. He came up through the academy. He looked very promising with lots of potential. He gave us hope that he could be our next Messi. Unfortunately, injuries were not kind to him. So it's always sad to see him. Now, thankfully, we did get Lamine Yamal now, who's the new heir of that number 10 of Messi. But it's always sad to see him leave. But, if that means Ansu Fati going to a place where he's happy, where he can, rediscover his love for football, rediscover himself, rediscover his talent and his potential, then, of course, that's what's best for him. So I'm all for it. So Ansu Fati leaving to Monaco. And with that, that ends the news. But yesterday, I did see that there were some donations that I completely missed. These are not podcasts, so I don't usually do the comment section, but I do see some donation here. And of course, it wouldn't be fair if I end this video without, of course, reading that donation comment. But let's look at what Ali says. Thank you so much, my friend, for your donation. But Ali says, "Hi Mo, your bro Ali from UAE. Cucurella is a snake. Madrid and Perez are obsessed with Barca. Can't wait for next season." Look, I wouldn't call him a snake. He's definitely a mercenary. He's just gonna go to whoever the highest bidder is. But look, there's nothing to regret here. There's nothing to be sad over. Cucurella was never a Barcelona target. Bernardo Silva was never a Barcelona target. They both offered themselves to Barcelona. And to both players, Barcelona said, "Look, you're not really a priority for me. If I have an exit, you're welcome to take that spot. But otherwise, I'm not interested." So they ended up going to Real Madrid. That's their loss. Like I said during yesterday's video, Madrid are making literally the same exact 5 signings they made last summer. They're signing Mourinho in the place of Xabi Alonso, Dumfries in the place of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Konate in the place of Huijsen, Cucurella in the place of Carreras, and then Bernardo Silva in the place of Mastantuono. 120 million Mbappe, 200 million euros last summer, and now I think they're up to 100 plus. I mean, we're talking about almost €500 million in the last 2 years, just so they can end another season trophyless. So, hey, if they want to go bankrupt, if they want to go throw the whole club and all their money out the window on signings and signings and signings, let them be it, right? After all, that's not what Madrid's problem is. It's not that they lack signings or they don't have signings. The problem is they don't have a project. They don't have a system. They don't have an identity. They don't have an idea of play. There's just a collection of signings. And as long as they continue collecting signings, they're going to continue having the same exact problem. So if that's what they want to do, then so be it. That means we're in for another funny season of us laughing at Madrid and Madridistas. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, be scarce.